What's up everybody, I'm HoopsandHipHop and welcome to another Pokemon theory video. However, if you're looking for a good Pokemon theory, then unfortunately I'm gonna have to tell you that you're not in the right place, because today we're actually going to cover some terrible Pokemon theories. However, stay with me here before you click away, because it's not actually as bad as it sounds. These particular theories that we're going to cover today are definitely not true. They're either way too crazy or just way too outlandish to even conceivably be real in any way, shape, or form, hence the terrible tag. But believe it or not, there's evidence to support them that actually makes perfect sense, and if the ideas themselves weren't completely ridiculous, they'd actually be pretty mind-blowing. And so I thought this was kind of a fun, quirky type of idea to do, and so we've actually got 5 of these ridiculous yet totally make sense type of theories to share with you guys today. Now clearly, as you might be able to tell, this is not going to be your regular theory video where I'm trying to prove something true. This is more so just for fun, where I'm going over some crazy ideas that should not be true, but technically could be true when you kind of look at the evidence and points in favor of them. So with all of that being said, this is just for fun. Why don't we go ahead and take a look? Okay, so this first one is one that I literally came up right off the top of my head when I came up with the idea for this video, but you know what? I actually really like the idea of it, and that is the idea that TMs and HMs are actually software updates for Pokemon. Now this all comes from the idea that TMs are actually like these weird disc-based things that even look like floppy disks from the 90s in some cases, like in the anime, and people have always wondered why that is. Like, how exactly are you going to teach a Pokemon a move with a disc when the Pokemon itself is like an animal, basically? Like, how does that even work? Well, my personal idea under this theory is that we know that Pokemon have the capability of being converted into digital data at the very least by the use of the PC system, and we also know that they are very closely tied to infinity energy. So basically, in a nutshell, my theory here is that Pokemon are indeed digital data and they are made up of infinity energy. So when you use a TM or an HM on them, you are essentially updating the digital data that the Pokemon themselves are made of, and you're giving them the ability to learn new moves, much like developers of a video game would update a game to give it new content and new storylines or areas that it didn't have before. Now, the reason why I class this theory as terrible is, like I said, I literally just came up with it in about 5 minutes for the purpose of this video, and that's pretty much it. It's very brief. TMs are software updates, Pokemon are digital, you're updating the information that Pokemon are made of to give them new moves. Pretty, like, cut and dry, but I also gotta say, even though I can't say it's true necessarily, I think it's really fun and, once again, just makes perfect sense based on the evidence, so who'd have thought? Okay, so this second one is a bit of a meme, but when you look at it a little closer, there's actually some evidence to support it. If you've spent very much time on the internet at all, I'm sure you've seen some posts about how the logos of the various Pokemon evil teams spell out the word Gramps, which of course would naturally mean that Professor Oak is the true criminal mastermind behind all of the villainy of the Pokemon world. It's really the only logical conclusion. But that idea actually goes a lot deeper than just that single piece of evidence, because we have also seen that many of the evil teams use sophisticated technology in their schemes, and it just so happens that Professor Oak is a bit of an inventor himself, as he created the Pokédex. But the real kicker here is that Professor Oak actually has a legitimate presence in most of the currently known regions. There's obviously Kanto, where he lives, he's frequently in Johto, as it is right next door to Kanto, and even does a radio show at the Goldenrod Radio Tower. Which Team Rocket took over in the Gen 2 games? It's almost as if they had some help in doing that from the inside. Now, he doesn't really have much of a connection in Hoenn, but those games do take place at the same time as the Kanto-based games where he is clearly present, so his absence there isn't that surprising. He does appear in Sinnoh, however, and even has a home in Eterna City, where the Team Galactic building is also located. Like, hello guys, can someone call the police now? Thanks. He also does not appear in Unova or Kalos, although with Kalos we do know that his grandson Blue has visited there, and Team Flare's logo isn't included in the whole Gramps thing anyway, so he probably just sends his grandson to deal with them, but he does also have a presence in the Alola region because his cousin Samson Oak lives there, and could very easily carry out Professor Oak's evil deeds for him remotely. I know this guy gives you your starter and he's a beloved character, blah blah blah, but this evidence cannot be ignored, and I suggest you all wake up before he succeeds with his plan of turning us all into old people. You know, come to think of it, maybe that's why Agatha hates him so much. Alright, number 3 on the list is actually something that's been a part of my own headcanon, if you will, for the last little bit, when I started kind of noticing a pattern, and that is the idea that the events of the anime and the games of Pokémon actually take place in the same continuity, and the events of the anime, chronologically speaking, come before the events of the games. Now, I know what you're thinking, Hoops, even by terrible Pokemon theory satire standards, this is pretty bad. How could you possibly think this? Well, let me show you my evidence, dear viewer, that makes it not quite as terrible as you might think, because we actually see several examples of connections between the games and the Pokemon anime in several different games. Most notably, in Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, we actually see Steven in the Delta episode talk about a guy with a black Charizard that he battled a long time ago. Now, if you are familiar with the anime, then you would probably know that he is referring to Alon in this case, because Alon is a guy with a black Charizard, that being Mega Charizard X, who Steven also battled in the Mega Evolution special. Now, the key here in terms of the anime taking place before the games is that Steven says a long time ago, meaning the events of the anime where he actually battled Alon took place before the events of the game where you're talking to him right then and there. Now, you might think that this is just an Easter egg or an isolated incident, but oh no, it does not stop there. All the way back in the very first generation of Pokemon, in good old Red and Blue, we actually run into a character named Mr. Fuji who lives in Lavender Town, who is basically spending his retirement living his best life by taking care of Pokemon that are abandoned or sick or just don't have anywhere else to go. Now, obviously this guy is just a blessing of a Pokemon character, but his character goes a little bit deeper than this, because he actually has a pretty cool backstory that, believe it or not, most likely connects to the anime. In Pokemon the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back, we actually see one of the head scientists that helped create Mewtwo, whose name is Dr. Fuji, so we have a connection in character names right here with Dr. Fuji and Mr. Fuji, and if we go back to the games, particularly in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, we know that there was a Dr. Fuji who worked in the Cinnabar laboratory, because in Let's Go we literally see his portrait in the laboratory itself, and we also know that it's most likely where Mewtwo was created, because in the Cinnabar Mansion, we see a bunch of journal entries documenting the creation of Mewtwo. So basically, we have a Dr. Fuji in the games who is most assuredly Mr. Fuji that we see in Lavender Town, and we know that the Dr. Fuji from the game created Mewtwo, and we know the Dr. Fuji from the anime also created Mewtwo, meaning that these are most likely the same person. And if we take a look at their appearances, we can see that the Dr. Fuji in the anime is relatively young, while the Dr. Fuji in the games is noticeably older, which backs up our theory of the anime before the game's timeline, and is also backed up by the previous evidence that suggested the same thing, so yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say that we have a cross-media continuity of timelines, and I really don't want to hear anyone else say anything differently, because this is obviously 100% true, no doubt about it. Alright everybody, I can already tell you're not going to be ready for this next one, so you better strap in right now, or so help you Arceus, you might just fall right out of your pants, because we are going to talk about Quagsire. Now, if you haven't been made aware of the absolute truth that is Quagsire, let me just preach to you real quick. Quagsire is everything. Like, honestly though, how can you not love this face? Speaking of its face though, have you ever noticed that it looks really similar to Ditto? That's right, lovely viewers, the Quagsire you know is actually a lie, because it, in reality, is actually a Ditto. Like I just mentioned, Ditto and Quagsire have a near identical face to one another, and as you probably know, Ditto retains its face when it transforms into another Pokemon, meaning that this isn't truly a Quagsire, but a Ditto that is transformed into one. But if that doesn't convince you, then maybe this bombshell I'm about to drop on you will. I'm sure you haven't noticed, but in addition to their faces, Ditto and Quagsire also have the exact same coloration, both normal and shiny. Quagsire's regular form is the same color as Ditto's shiny form, and Quagsire's shiny form is the same color as Ditto's regular form. And that, my friends, is what you call a checkmate. Now that we've confirmed that Quagsire is just Ditto though, that actually means we've never seen what a real Quagsire actually looks like. If I had to guess, I would say that the real Quagsire probably looks like what Fabio would look like if he were a real Pokemon. And frankly, I think that Game Freak is using this whole Ditto scenario to shield our eyes from the true majesty of Quagsire Fabio, because frankly, our eyes are not worthy of looking at something that is that unbelievably beautiful. And now we have come to the conclusion of the video, and we might have just saved the best for last, because we are now going to be talking about the idea that the adorable Generation 7 Pokemon Komala might not actually be what you think it is, and instead of being that adorable koala Pokemon, it might actually be an adorable log Pokemon. That's right, Komala is actually just the log that it's holding, and not the koala bear that you thought it was. Now, is this theory actually terrible? I mean, realistically, yeah, it probably is, but that doesn't stop it from having some legitimate evidence that actually has it making a lot of sense, because number one, we know according to the Pokedex that Komalas have their logs essentially their whole lives from the time they're born, so there is never a Komala, the bear, that is without its log, and number two, thanks to its signature ability Comatose, it is unable to be affected by any type of status condition, be it sleep, be it freezing, be it confusion, which makes a lot more sense for a log Pokemon that is essentially just a hunk of wood, as opposed to a more living, breathing type of creature like a koala bear. Things really start to get serious though when you look at Komala's shiny form. In comparison to its regular form, the koala side of the Pokemon is almost unchanged whatsoever, but when you look at the log side of this creature, it's actually only the log that changes color at all when it is shiny, and it actually changes color quite a bit, especially compared to the koala that, like I said, doesn't change at all. And last but not least, to just put the cherry on top to this excellently terrible theory, in Pokemon Sun and Moon in the data of the games, there were actually walking animations for every single Pokemon that went completely unused for some unknown reason. But that reason isn't really what we're concerned about, because we're actually going to look at Komala's walking animation specifically. And instead of Komala actually, walking, it actually just rolls around with the use of its log, and once again, the koala part of the Pokemon does not move whatsoever. So you know what, given all of this evidence, I think it is pretty safe to say that Komala is actually a sentient log Pokemon with no eyes, no mouth, no ears, no appendages whatsoever, and it just simply has a buddy regular old koala bear, also confirming that there are animals in the Pokemon world, hashtag 2 theories in 1, so yeah, pretty mind-blowing to say the least. Well, there you have it everybody, those were 5 terrible Pokemon theories that actually make a lot of sense. Now, I want to make a quick disclaimer here in case I might have offended anyone with the word terrible. If you guys actually do subscribe to any of these theories, more power to you. I simply am using the word terrible in the context of they're probably not true, or at least too good to be true if you want to put it that way, but I really just wanted to cover them anyway for the sake of fun, because even though they're crazy, they make perfect sense and I just love the heck out of them. If you guys enjoyed the video though, please give it a like because it really helps out, and let me know down in the comments below if you have any more crazy, wacky, kooky theories of your own that are just way too good to be true but also make a lot of sense. And as always, if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe for way more Pokemon content every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And if you enjoy Pokemon music, consider following me on Spotify as well, because it directly supports the channel right here on YouTube, and it is greatly appreciated. With all of that being said though, I will be back on Tuesday for another video, so be sure to hit that notification bell so you can be notified as soon as it goes live. And with all of that being said, I hope you all have a fantastic day. You know I love you guys, and I will smell you guys later.